Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everything Iconic with me, Danny Pellegrino. Got a special guest here today, Hallie Meyers-Shyer, daughter of my queen icon legend, Nancy Meyers. I'm wearing a Nancy Meyers sweatshirt, which is probably too much. But Hallie, how are you today?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me. The sweatshirt is not too much. It's just enough.
Okay, because I really like went back and forth. I was like, should I do like a cozy cream colored turtleneck sweater a la Something's Gotta
Hmm.
Give or this one, but I opted for this one that says written and directed by Nancy Meyers because I truly love your mom's work so much, but also your work. I'm very excited to get to talk to you because I remember seeing Home Again and it gave me sort of the same vibes that I love from a lot of your both of your parents' movies, things like Father of the Bride, Something's Gotta Give, It's Complicated. I mean, these are the movies that I tend to go back to all the time. And I noticed with Home Again, I did the same thing. It starred Reese Witherspoon, and it came out a few years back, and it's one of those comfort movies for me. And then now you have this new movie, Goodrich, starring Michael Keaton, which I'm excited to chat with you about. So maybe just start off by telling everyone what Goodrich is about.
Sure. Well, thank you for saying that about Home Again. I appreciate it. Um, Goodrich is about a man who is on his second marriage, and he had a second set of children with a younger woman. His kids are 9, and he was sort of the backup parent to those kids. And then his wife leaves him and goes to a 90-day rehab and leaves him alone with the 2 kids. And he kind of leans on his daughter from his first marriage, played by Mila Kunis, and she kind of watches him become the parent to the second generation that she didn't really get. So it's kind of a complicated father-daughter story between him and his older daughter. And it's a comedy.
And I was really fascinated. To me, it really was a love story between this father, played by Michael Keaton, and Mila Kunis. And
Yeah.
I was fascinated. How did you kind of land on that as your next feature? Because you wrote and directed this, and as you did with Home Again. So how did you kind of decide to delve into this territory?
It really just poured out of me right after I finished Home Again. I went right into Goodrich, even though it took such a long time to get here, as it does with the independent film world. And also, we had a global pandemic and all that.
Right.
So, it was a story that it's really personal to me. My father remarried and had a second set of children. And so it was something that I was feeling and also noticing in the world. Like I was just noticing a lot of complicated relationships with modern families, and I hadn't seen that on screen before. And a big part of it for me was also Michael Keaton. I really wanted to see him back in this genre. And at the time, now he's, you know, come back as Beetlejuice and all those things. But at that time, I hadn't seen him in a while do something like this. And I love him. And I'm a major Michael Keaton fan.
He's got that charm that I don't think a lot of people have. Like watching him in this movie just reminded me of sort of that like multiplicity or
Yes,
just that
totally.
charming. We love him in the superhero stuff or whatever else he's doing, but I
I mean,
love
he's
he's
good
so
at
good in
everything.
this. Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
but he's got a charm.
oh my God, he has the most charm and charisma. And he's also really, you know, I, I think that I was really trying to have that sort of old school 80s, 90s Keaton, but also, I mean, tell me if this was your experience with the movie, but I think this is the most vulnerable I've seen him be on screen before.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, yes. Yeah, I mean, he gets to play so many different layers in this movie that it's fun to watch. Yeah, I think he's so good in every genre, but watching him get to tear up or parent or something, like I don't want to give anything away, but yeah, I think it's moving
Yeah.
to get to see those little sides of him. What was it like? Did you know him beforehand? How did he get involved in this?
No, it's so funny. Like with parents in the industry, people think all famous people. And I genuinely don't. So I didn't, everyone asks me, did you know Michael? And I'm like, no. I had met him once before when I was a kid, but that by no means was something I thought he would ever remember. But actually he did remember it, which was very special for me. Anyway, or he's saying he remembered it. But no, I didn't know Michael, but I'd written it for him. Like I knew I wanted him, and I kind of cheated and like tailored it to him, like I watched a lot of interviews, and I sort of would write down his way of saying things and his mannerisms and things like that and bake that into the character to just try to like subliminally let him see himself in the part. I watched a lot of interviews with him and watched a lot of his films. But he was great. Like he was my first stop. I wrote the script and I sent it directly to Michael, and he came on board. I mean, he responded to it, and that was just the greatest day of my life.
Right. I mean, and what was Mila like? Was she great to work with?
Mila is the best. She really is. I can't say enough good things about Mila Kunis. She's First of all, she's an incredibly kind person. So she's telling stories on set. She's just like in between takes, she's hanging out. Like she's just a pal to the movie. But in this particular role, she also just really brought it. Like I just think she went in seamlessly to this character, which was hard because it was a really personal character to me. And so it was a difficult part for me to cast, just to like let go of my personal connections to it. And she is very different than I am, and really made it just a character to me and a person separate from me. And she's just, yeah, she's just wonderful. She's wonderful in the movie, and she's great with him. They're both so funny.
And
So it was fun to watch them together.
how much of your real life is sort of woven into the script? And was it hard to kind of let go of the character, as you were filming it?
So not for the character of Goodrich, because it just was always Michael Keaton to me. So I am not Michael Keaton's daughter. So that was not difficult for me. A lot of the themes are personal to my story and my life, but none of the actual scenarios, so I didn't really have difficulty with that. But, like somebody saw the movie recently and said to me, this was my story. And I felt it was so cathartic watching it. And that was really exciting for me to hear, because I think that that's a good thing to remember when you're writing. It's like, if it feels like your story, it's going to feel like somebody else's story. It's like these kind of themes are universal when you're writing movies about fathers and daughters and parenting and all those kind of themes, because we all deal with those things in our lives.
Right. You come from this filmmaker family. Did you always know that you wanted to make movies?
I did. So I have a theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think if you're exposed to something in the way that I was exposed to it, you either want to do it or absolutely run from it. Like, I don't know if there's an in between. And growing up, I think it's kind of different being the children of filmmakers and the children of actors, because I've noticed growing up in Los Angeles, actors like to sort of like separate church and state and like keep their normal lives normal and then go to work. But when your parents are writers and directors, there's no like keeping it away from your family, because it's years and years of your life, So we grew up going to sets, and, like our dinner table would have different posters. Do you like this one or do you like this one? And I remember, The Parent Trap was a movie about girls my age at the time. And I remember taking the script to my fourth grade class with like a red pen and like making notes, like, I would never say this, and this is the wrong nail polish color, and blah, blah, blah. And there was a substitute teacher one day that was like, are you reading a script? I remember that distinct memory. But so my sister, Annie, she is completely uninterested in it. And, you really get a good glimpse into it. So it's like, do you really want to do this with your life? And the answer is usually yes or no. So for me, it was immediate. I always wanted to do it. I was so drawn to it. And my parents, loving film so much, they saw that early on, and they really took the chance to expose me to it and like show me Hitchcock movies and Sturgis movies and Billy Wilder. And like, it was just a huge education, which is why when I got to film school, I was sort of like, I think I should learn about something else. And I left.
Oh, so you left film school and then
I did.
came back to it.
Yeah, I left film school knowing I wanted to be in film. It wasn't because I didn't want to be in film. Just because I felt like once it's kind of a natural thing when you're a kid to study the thing you're interested in. But once I got there, I thought, I've had so much film education in my life. Then if I spend these 4 years learning about film, then I go into film, I'll know, I wanted to take that opportunity to learn something else.
Okay, but so you were also appeared in The Parent Trap, which is, of course, a movie that we all go back to a million times. So tell me about that experience. What do you remember? I just saw Lindsay was reposting about Goodrich, your movie. So it seems like the two of you are still in contact. And I'm so thrilled to see Lindsay like thriving right now. Looking,
oh my God,
just stunning, and just she's great.
How good does she look?
I mean, it's incredible. Yeah,
it's incredible. I'm so happy to see her thriving. Like, she's just doing so well, and she is such a great mom, and her movie Freaky Friday is going to be so wonderful. Yeah. We actually reconnected recently because she's been living abroad for a long time. So we would, connect through text and stuff like that. But she was shooting Freaky Friday in LA, so that's when we got to see each other. The Parent Trap was such a great experience. I mean, my parents were making a movie about an 11-year-old girl, and I was a 10-year-old girl at the time. And it was just a blast. And Lindsay and I became extremely close on that movie. She was like an honorary member of my family. And yeah, I mean, I was in the movie kind of more just to be able to hang out, like that it wasn't like I had any aspirations to act. And I actually really didn't like it. And I was such a bratty actor because my mom was the director. I would say, like, you're going to do another take? I'm tired.
Yeah, I need a nap.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that. I mean, that movie, and Lindsay, I deserved an Academy Award for that movie. She's so good being able to play these two characters. Incredible.
Yeah.
Also, just because we're talking about you appearing in things, you appeared in one of my all-time favorite movies, Father of the Bride. You were in both of them, the first two. And I do actually have a bone to pick. I don't know if you could pass this information along to the family, but there's a line of dialogue where George Banks says how good that house looks in Christmas lights. And I just always thought, like, why we needed to see it in Christmas lights. I know you did, like, there was like a part 3-ish for Netflix or something, but I always just thought there should be a holiday Father of the Bride so we could see that house, the most gorgeous house, in Christmas lights.
Right.
But
I think that's a pretty accurate. I'll pass it along. I mean, I think maybe the ship has sailed, but like, yeah.
No, we don't. We need to sail it back into the port or whatever the fuck the saying would be. But we need
it's a good line, though. I like that line.
Yeah, we need it. Do you remember anything about that experience from the two? I know you were a flower girl in the first one, and in the second one you played young Annie Banks. I mean, come on.
I did.
Come on.
Yeah.
Are you aware of how big of a deal that is to, like, people like me?
I am. I think it's so funny. It's like so obvious I'm the director's kid because it's just a full slow motion close up of a day player. I'm pushing up my sleeves and pushing my hair back. I love having that. I love having that to look back on, I mean, I think it's such a special thing. At the time, obviously I didn't realize that. But now that I have it, it's like having a family album in a lot of ways. Like I said, like my parents' movies are so personal to me. They put a lot of, like people that we know would pop up in the movies. There's just little Easter eggs all over, like the people's names that they use are our neighbors and our cousins and things like that. So that's me and Annie being in those movies is like a little bit of just them putting their family in it. And I feel a little like I was their Hitchcock. He would put himself in the movies. Yeah. But then at a certain point, I drew the line and I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. My mom asked me to be a DJ in It's Complicated at the graduation party. And I passed.
Hallie, how dare you? How dare you?
Yeah, I was in college and I was like, I don't think so. I think that this is the end of the road.
Do you have a favorite of one of your parents' movies? Like, is there one that you'll stop and watch if it's on TV?
I love a lot of their movies, honestly. I mean, I watch The Holiday probably most. I love The Holiday. So, I mean, I feel the way about The Holiday that everybody feels about it. It's just extremely cozy and wonderful. But yeah, I mean, the movies that my parents made together are also really special to me. I feel the way about them a lot of people do. They're all good. Their comfort. Yeah.
Yeah. And The Intern is underrated. I wrote a Hallmark Christmas movie that I'm also in that comes out this year. And there's like, there's a running thing about your mom's movies. So your mom comes up in the movie like multiple times. My character is just sort of obsessed with, as I am in real life, your mom's films. That. And so there's tons of references to the holidays and your mom specifically and everything. So I'm excited for people to see it. But yeah. Okay. So what are your favorite, what movies made you want to do this? Like, what are the kind of touchstones for you?
Oh God. I mean, I have so many, but I feel like the movies that I grew up watching, like I mentioned, like the Billy Wilder movies, those kind of wonderfully structured and incredibly written, I guess they were romantic comedies in some right, but they were also sort of just like relationship comedies. Those were my favorite movies growing up, and they still are. The Apartment, and a lot of Jim Brooks movies, Broadcast News, things like that. Right. I mean, I wish I had more like cool offbeat answers for these questions, but I think that the reason why some of these movies are so seminal is because they're so wonderful and they're just like textbooks, And also just, movies like All About Eve and things like that you just see for the first time and you're like, this is mind blowing, Right. I think I'm a writer first and foremost. Like I love directing and I like working with actors, but I really feel like a lot of that is to protect the writing. So for me, the greatest movies are just the greatest scripts. Like Tootsie. Tootsie's a big one I return to all the time.
Oh,
It's a
Tootsie's
perfect
so good.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you make of the conversation around a lot of your parents' movies, or your mom specifically, with kitchens and design, and of course we all love it. And I always kind of felt like the reason that we love these designs in kitchens, or even in Home Again, I remember loving the dinnerware, like
Oh yeah.
at the house. Like I loved the dinnerware.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think a lot of the reason why audiences attach themselves is because the writing is so good and all the other
Yeah.
elements of the filmmaking are good, whether it be the lighting, the set design, it all sort of like cohesive unit. And sometimes I think the movies can get reduced to that, and unfairly so, in my opinion. But I'm curious, what do you think of that conversation of people sort of attaching that? Does it annoy
Are
you?
you are you are you referencing that thing I wrote?
No, I didn't see the thing you wrote. Wait. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Apologies.
No, I thought because I wrote something that I posted on Instagram about this specific issue with my mom because it was something that, I've seen bother her throughout the years. Um, the thing is like, I think that what it comes down to is that, when you're a director, you're meant to do world creation, right? Around whatever world you are building from the ground up. And every director is pretty much asked the same questions on a set. Do you like this red or this red? Do you want these plates or these plates? And, it's not like most directors don't care about plates. Every director is having to make that decision at some point or another. Some directors care more than others do. The genre that my mom has worked in, I think, there is a certain level of the way things look that play a part of the movie more. They're like more involved in it because they take place in homes a lot of the time. Homes are a reflection of characters. So you want the home to feel like, the character and to have that warmth of feeling like you're in this family and make it real. And my mom also has really beautiful taste. So if she's going to be asked the same question as someone else, she might pick the better looking thing. She might like get more involved in that. All different directors have things that they care about more, that they get really specific about. And I think it comes down to sometimes, thinking about like David Fincher has excellent taste. His movies are exquisite, Luca, whose name I can never pronounce, Guadagnino.
Look
Is
at
that
you.
right?
Yeah.
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 Luca G. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Look
going to
at you.
take that. I mean, his houses are incredible and in a lot of ways wish fulfillment, and I think that there's less commentary on like when you see what was the incredible movie he made with Timothy Chalamet? Call Me by Your Name.
Yeah.
The best. But like, you could see that movie and say, how does a professor afford to own that house? But you don't because it's part of the experience. And I think that for me, viewing that movie, the house enriched my experience of seeing that movie. And I chose to concentrate on that incredible relationship in that movie and not that, but with my mom, and I think people really concentrated on it sometimes. And it takes away, in my opinion, from some of the things that actually matter that she's done and contributed to the world of film. And, being a pioneer, it's very rare to be a female who's had success for 40 years in this business. It's, by the way, for anyone to have success for 40 years in this business is rare, but to be a woman in particular, and then to have people see these movies that, like in Baby Boom, where she is holding a baby and a briefcase in the one sheet, and then people are talking about, her cashmere and things like that. It seems like your eyes on the wrong thing, but I don't think she like doesn't like it. I just think it's a bummer when sometimes it seems like the focus of the conversation. That is a very long-winded way to say that.
No, but I always felt similarly, and like I love all that. Even in your movie, I loved Michael Keaton's in this yellow gorgeous sweater at the end, and I'm just like, oh my god, that sweater! Like I need to know where that sweater's from. But I also think the reason that these endure, like I said at the beginning of our conversation, they become comfort movies for all of us. It's not because of the kitchen or the sweater or whatever. It's because the cohesive unit of these films are also technically perfect or wonderful in my eyes, perfect. And I think that's what makes them live on. Because if you just had a house or just had a kitchen or something, it wouldn't survive.
No, definitely. But don't you think that like social media and Pinterest has sort of exasperated that because of the Nancy Meyers aesthetic and things like that. I mean, it became a part of the conversation in the past, what, like 10 years since people were able to have, you know, movies used to be just the sort of thing that you would, that was not so close to us, and not, we didn't have like screenshots and images of every angle of everything and every dish and every apple. And now it's like how to get that look, and it just becomes the focal point. But anyway, I think you're right. Like it should be part of it. It is part of it, but it doesn't have to be, I think that it's become, it's taken over in a lot of ways.
Right. I also think your mom's a singular kind of talent. And unfortunately, like I wish more movies like Goodrich or like your mom's films got made. Because I tend to gravitate towards stories that aren't the superhero or aren't the horror movies. Like I love those movies too, but it just feels sometimes like that the grounded relationship stories that they don't get made as much, unfortunately.
No, they're hard to get made.
Yeah,
and by the way,
to me
just
about
to mention,
that.
like,
Yeah.
well, I just say on the yellow sweater that you mentioned is like, we thought that is like, not by accident, like that. So this is a good like example of it. Like, so you might take away from that, who makes that yellow sweater, right? But for us behind the scenes, it was like, okay, in the beginning of the movie, we want him to be in cooler colors because he's not as warm towards these kids. He's not as warm in his life. He's not as open. He's going to wear a lot of suits and he's a businessman. Then towards the end of the movie, he starts wearing more casual clothes. He starts wearing warmer colors. He's opened up his heart. In the end of the movie, the walls are a certain color, so we want him to be in a color. Mila's in pink not because just randomly, but she was hoping she was going to have a girl, so she brought a pink, bathrobe to wear just in case she was going to have a girl. And so like all these things are like thoughtful storytelling mechanisms, and then it's sort of just like we put them in there and we just like hope that, it registers for you somewhere.
It does. And I think as an audience, sometimes we're just like, oh, yellow sweater. But the reason is because of all those things that you
so deeply thought out. I mean, the conversation around should Michael's shirt be tucked in or tucked out is not because I'm like a type A crazy person. It's because I'm like, okay, he's been in the hospital all day. He's going back into the delivery room. Is he exhausted and he's not caring about his shirt? Or is he meeting his granddaughter for the first time and he wants to tuck his shirt in? Like we have these conversations endlessly making a movie. So I don't know, just part of it. But yeah, getting a movie made is beyond difficult.
Yeah. So was it, I mean, because I imagine just the subject matter, it's hard to get this sort of I don't even know what you would call it, mid-budget drama or something. I don't know.
This is not a mid-budget, I would say. I mean, this is a low-budget indie, I would say.
So how was
we shot it in 25 days. Obviously there's, I don't know the technical terms, but I think there's like micro budget, low budget, mid, and then but I think this would probably be we shot it in 25 days, which was really difficult. I mean, I think that this kind of genre, like you talked about, that used to be a studio movie probably 30 years ago, it's kind of lost its way. I think there's two genres that have kind of lost their way a little bit, like dramas are kind of indie movies now, just like plain dramas, character driven stories, like I was just listening to a clip of Joaquin Phoenix being interviewed, and they played a clip from Raging Bull, and he does an entire monologue from another movie in that movie, and I'm just like, this would have been an independent film now, and it's an iconic classic. But anyway, then I also think those sort of like character driven comedy that's not a big studio comedy, or a action comedy, it is sort of in this independent space, and it's a difficult place for it to live because, like you said, you kind of want it to look and feel a certain way. And you need money and time to do that, So it was really difficult to pull off, but I had such an incredible team of people on the movie working so incredibly hard to pull it off that we did it. But yeah, it was hard to get made. It really was.
What would you like to do next? Like I would love to just take a gander at your journal to be like, what ideas do you have that you're working on or that you would like to see come to fruition next?
Well, I'm working on something. I mean, I'm so deep in it with Goodrich right now that it's been hard to see. I'm not a person that, I know a lot of friends who are working on a million things at a time. I just pour every ounce of myself into something. So I feel like I'm in, I'm in my 9th month of pregnancy with Goodrich. So I like have to give birth to it before I can move on fully, start thinking about my next child. But I am working on something. It's not, I mean, I think I love comedy so much that it would be hard for me to ever fully not write a comedy, but it's not totally in this genre. So I'm excited to see what else I can explore. And I really sort of start with characters and actors I'd like to work with. That's kind of where it starts for me.
Is there, apologies if I shouldn't be asking you this, but I saw on IMDb, are you working on maybe something with Eloise, the character, or is that
No,
a
that was
possibility
that.
thing? No?
I really wish, if anybody listening to this has any rights to Eloise, please hit me up. I was working on that when I was in college, so like 15 years ago. And then, just like it was one of those things that it's just I don't know if the company that had the rights didn't have them anymore and blah, blah, blah. But that was my favorite childhood book. And I don't think it's ever been properly adapted.
I know we need it. I have a dream of doing an Amelia Bedelia movie. So if anyone has
Oh my
rights to that,
God.
I would love to write that.
By the way, I use that term all the time to describe people. I'm like, she's such an Amelia Bedelia. And I hope that people understand what I'm talking about.
Oh, I got you. But I don't understand why there hasn't been an Amelia Bedelia. I mean, come on. It would be so cute.
Yeah, yeah.
I literally have a Word document where I add little ideas for an Amelia Bedelia movie. So I'm like prepared if anyone comes a calling.
Oh my God, you have to do that.
I know.
I feel like you're called to it and you have to do it.
I'm called to it. Yes. I've been called to many things though that didn't come to fruition. But we're working through that.
Well, we're going to manifest that one.
Which, speaking of manifesting, are you able to comment on, your mom was supposed to do a Netflix movie, and
yeah,
it pisses me off actually, because your mom's movies have always made a lot of money. They've always consistently been huge grossing films, especially when you factor in the replay value and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And she was supposed to do a Netflix movie and they didn't want to give her the budget she needed. And it's infuriating. What is your take on that? I'm infuriated.
Yeah, it's pretty infuriating. I mean, the semantics of it are more nuanced than, what's out there. But I definitely think it's unfortunate that it didn't happen. And I wish that it would. I mean, there's a lot of really big budgets towards male dominated films, and
and stuff that sort of just comes out and people maybe watch it the first day and then it's completely forgotten about. Well, you and your mom make lasting films, so let her make one and give her the fucking money.
Thank you for grouping me in with that. Yeah, he does. I hope so. I hope I do too. Yeah.
Hallie, you will. Trust me. You are. Home Again, I really do go back to all the time. Like, it's a comfort film. I
appreciate that.
And you must hear that all the time, right?
I do. And that's just such a nice thing to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
Reese, Candy Bergen. I mean, come on. Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time. There are a couple questions I do ask all of my guests.
Okay.
If you were choosing for People Magazine, Sexiest Man Alive, who would you choose? And then also your favorite Mariah Carey song.
Oh my God. Okay. So when you said that, my mind immediately went to Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, good choice. Interesting choice.
I
just heard he's unretired.
Right. Maybe I was wondering is it because I just saw that he came back from retirement, but I think he's just like such a classically sexy man. And my favorite Mariah Carey song is just All I Want for Christmas Is You, obviously.
I
mean, I don't know if there could be any other answer to that.
I don't ask all of my guests this, but I do have to settle a bet. Jude Law, who you mentioned you love The Holiday.
Yeah.
Was he sexier in The Holiday or Talented Mr. Ripley?
Whoa, that's a very good question.
I know it's a tough one. I was just arguing with a friend. I argued The Holiday.
Danny, I don't know. That's so tough. What a question. The glasses he wears in The Holiday are there. That adds a huge thing.
Sure.
But he's like one of the most gorgeous people ever to be in a film in Talented Mr. Ripley. Like, it's just like, he's breathtaking. Yeah. It's different. I think it depends where you're at in your life.
Interesting. Yeah.
But what is your answer? Your answer is
no. I argue for The Holiday. Just even with the napkin on his head, and I know in the movie like there's
I can't. That's a thing my dad did growing up. So that to me.
Oh my God, was it really?
Mr. Napkin Head is from my family. Yeah.
What? I did not know this.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so that you have to divorce yourself from that a little bit. But for me,
beyond. My answer is now the talented Mr.
Okay. Sorry about that. Wait, did he do it accurately? Did he do it accurately?
Very. But when Jude says I'm a major weeper,
Come on,
that gets me. That's really cute. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to me that sort of energy in the holiday I like more. But if I was in the mood, talented Mr. Ripley, and I wouldn't turn any Jude Law away, to be honest with you. But that's a tale for another time.
Really not.
Hallie, thank you so much. We encourage everyone to go see Goodrich. It's in theaters starring Michael Keaton, Mila Kunis. And go support these movies so we get more of them, because I need more of them. And I need you to get working on the next one. I'm sorry, but get to work.
Danny, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
I really am such a huge fan of your work and your mom and dad. And really,
you're the best.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
We us Myers women all very much appreciate your support.
Oh, I love them. We love them. All right. Thanks, Hallie.
Okay. Thanks, Danny.